Now we will start with the next session, which is on smart cities, enabling growth, changing trends. There we will discuss about initiatives by Government of Maharashtra in terms of creating smart cities in Uttar Pradesh and how industry can contribute to this initiative of Government of Maharashtra, Government of Uttar Pradesh, sorry. So we have panelists at the venue, but there is a CM's conference going on, so we have some panelists joining there. And but we'll start with the speakers present here. So I'll name all the speakers. If they are present here, please join us on stage. If Mr. Sanjeev Saran, Principal Secretary, Industries, Government of Uttar Pradesh, if he's here. Okay. He is in the CXO meeting. Mr. Rama Raman, CEO, Noida and Greater Noida Development Authority. He will also be shortly joining us after that CM's conference. I invite Mr. Neeraj Gill, Group Director, Microsoft, to please join us on stage. And I request everybody to give a round of applause for Mr. Gill to make it to this session. And then I invite Mr. Naval Khosla, Technology Leader, Industry Solutions, Smart Cities from IBM. A big hand for Mr. Khosla, please. Do we have a speaker from Vodafone here right now? No. Okay. He's not going to. Okay. We'll join some other panel. Okay. So Vodafone's Senior Vice President will join some other panel next panel, most probably. Then we have Mr. Khwaja Saifuddin, Director, India and South Asia at Western Digital. We have Mr. Khwaja Saifuddin with us. I request her to please join us on stage, and a round of applause for our guest from Western Digital. And lastly, I invite Mr. Prashant Chaudhary, Director, CA Technologies. Please join us on stage. A round of applause for Mr. Chaudhary from CA Technologies. And with this, may I please request Mr. Gill to please moderate this session. And firstly to start with your address, and then because the chair is currently not present, so maybe he'll join us shortly after the CM's conference. So meanwhile, please, I request you to address the audience and also to moderate the session. So a round of applause for Mr. Gill, please.
So ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and a very warm welcome to you. I'm going to be speaking to you a little bit about smart cities, and what I'm going to focus on today is going to be on the need for smart cities, what's driving us towards smart cities, what are the challenges that we face, and what we as Microsoft see a kind of a structure in driving us towards smart cities. So in terms of smart cities, one of the things that I wanted to call out was why do we need smart cities? What's happening today? This is an era of very rapid urbanization. When we look at what the population growth is today, or what the population spread is today, about 50% of the world's population today is currently living in cities. By about 2050, you will have about 70% of the world's population moving into cities. In fact, in Asia, there is about 100,000 people moving into cities, or people being born in cities every single week. And that's kind of what's driving us towards the need for smart cities. Today, cities actually occupy only about 2% of the land mass of this earth, just 2% of the land mass. 80% of economic output, or the world's GDP, still comes out of these cities. 80% of energy consumption in the world is in these cities. So 2% of the land actually consumes 80% of the energy produced on the earth. And this 2% of the land also is responsible for about 75% of greenhouse emissions. Very concentrated, However, at the same time, while all this is happening, these are also areas of higher education, of learning. Cities are what drives innovations in healthcare. Cities are what drives entrepreneurship. So cities are therefore absolutely responsible for the GDP. Cities, in that sense, are engines for growth. I'm not sure if whether you are. Cities, in that sense, are engines for growth. They are driving our GDP. They are driving our future. So in that sense, when we look at cities, we should also look. Sorry, I think this is jumping a little bit. So while all of that is true, in the sense that rapid urbanization is happening, and these are the reasons for rapid urbanization, and nonetheless, the cities are still engines for growth. And at the same time, what cities end up facing is a huge amount of challenge. All of this urbanization is a challenge. As urbanization happens, there's a huge amount of stress on infrastructure, especially on existing cities. Greenfield cities are a little different, but when you look at brownfield cities, massive, massive stress on infrastructure. Massive stress on things like public safety, health, so on and so forth. The economy continues to change. There is a change in your national economy, there is a change in global economy. As all of this changes, cities need to struggle in order to keep up. Cities ultimately are the harbingers of economic growth for us. So if all of that has to happen, then what do city planners need to do? And city planners today need to do a lot more with a lot less. With all of the changes happening in the cities, the budgets are still tight. The budgets are growing tighter and tighter and tighter. At the same time, the expectations of both the citizens as well as the businesses continue to rise. So for a city planner, the city planner has to face all of these challenges with shrinking budgets, but nonetheless deliver on the promise of tomorrow. So that's, in essence, the need for smart cities. So when I look at smart cities, for a city planner, what does a city planner need to really think of? A city planner, at the end of the day, needs to think of smart cities, not from a perspective of smart infrastructure. The biggest capital in the city, or the biggest capital in the country, at the end of the day, is the human capital, is the human resource. So when city planners are looking at planning smart cities, they need to focus on a very people-centric approach, so a people-first approach. For the people-first approach, however, you still need to build on top of an ICT platform. And the ICT platform is something where we need to take advantage of things like the cloud, for instance. Using the cloud, certainly city planners as well as the financial planners can build infrastructure or scale infrastructure in a very cost-effective manner. So the infrastructure can be scalable, can be cost-effective. You can utilize the public cloud, you can utilize a hybrid cloud. We as Microsoft, for instance, are making a huge investment in India in terms of data centers. Data centers are going to come up by the end of the year. City planners can certainly utilize that infrastructure to easily start off some of their smart city infrastructure areas within those data centers instead of replicating. And if we are to realize the vision that the government of India has of 100 smart cities, and I congratulate, of course, the state of UP on signing the agreement with USTDA for Allahabad as one of the first smart cities. If we are to realize that vision, then every smart city cannot be a separate new infrastructure which comes up. There has to be replicable infrastructures which come up. There have to be replicable solutions which get built. If replicable solutions have to be built, then certainly the cloud is one thing that governments can take advantage of, that city planners can take advantage of. Mobility is something that we certainly need to bring into the mix. Today, most of our population, India is certainly a mobile-first country. It's a mobile-first nation. It is not a PC-first nation. It's not a tablet-first nation. India is a nation in which certainly we are moving towards the cloud, but we are the world's third largest nation in terms of smartphones. And we will soon be the second largest in terms of smartphones. When we look at mobility, and whether I look at mobility in terms of sensors, whether I look at mobility in terms of devices, today which are phones, tablets, and so on and so forth, tomorrow there'll be something else. Now, as we look at all of that, how do we harness all of the information that is coming in from there, either coming into the government, or information which can be going out to the citizens. And again, when it is going out to the citizens, is this information that is coming in or going out, how is it that we make it available to citizens? Literacy levels are different. Ability to use mobile devices is different. So, should the ability of citizens to either speak to a device, work with gestures, work with different languages, be taken into account or not, and that's something that city planners need to plan for. The social medium. If we look at the social medium, there is a huge amount of data flow. Governments obviously need to be engaged with citizens. Our elections of 2014 was a huge example of that. Political parties used the social medium to connect with the voters, and people who used it the best were obviously the most successful at this point in time. So when we look at smart cities, how do you have a two-way dialogue with your citizens? Through social media is another important aspect. Big data and analytics. Every single city has a lot of data everywhere. Now it's a question of how do we utilize the data, how do we get analytics out of it, but not only do we get analytics out of it, what insights do we provide so that city planners can effectively take actions to make the life of a citizen easier, or to provide information to businesses as they need them. Now with all of that, when we are thinking in terms of all of this, there are three levers which we as Microsoft believe are highly, highly important. The three levers, first of all, are to transform the operations and infrastructure. When we look at operations and infrastructure, today multiple departments exist in any city. If you need to get a license, you need to enroll in a school, you need to get a business permit, all of these kind of things, you need to apply for a passport. You keep providing the same information again and again and again. You interact with different departments of the government, and all of the information probably exists somewhere. So the concept that the Prime Minister has of a digital locker and a digital identity is very relevant today, where all of your information can exist in one single space and you can interact very easily. So transforming the infrastructure is probably the first most important thing. Engaging citizens and businesses is something that I talked about, and in the subsequent slides I'll talk a little bit more about this. That, at the end of the day, is the primary premise on which a smart city must function. And then finally, how do we accelerate innovation and opportunity? At the end of the day, if we are making the city smart, A, it is to make the citizen's life easy, but B, it is to be able to drive that city as an engine of economic growth for the state or for the country. Having said that, now I'll move on specifically to when I talk about transformation of operations and infrastructure. First of all, when we look at this, we say enable new capabilities with flexible cloud. Cloud, at the end of the day, is something which exists all around us. The state is putting up a state data center. There is a national data center which exists. Companies like us or other companies are putting up other public data centers. So how do we utilize all of this infrastructure which has already been put in order to enable the city planners, A, to move fast, B, to have replicable solutions? If tomorrow you want to have 10 smart cities across UP, then can you, of course, utilize cloud infrastructure to make sure that that speed with which you achieve 10 smart cities is rapid enough? Also, can you look at scalability of solutions? So for example, if elections are happening, information needs to flow. Do you really need to build infrastructure for that, or can you take it from the cloud? Or if there are any such events where there is information required suddenly, do you scale up your servers, or can you take advantage of the cloud? So the flexibility comes in from there. Innovate on your terms with modern solutions and big data platform. At the end of the day, every city is swimming with millions of bits of information or lots of information sitting in files somewhere. How do you make sure that all of that information gets made sense of? Insights come in from that information. Analytics is not enough. At the end of the day, insights need to come in. So the mayor of the city, the commissioner of the city, how do I make sense of the information which is coming in? If it is information, for example, on the spread of a disease, then in that case, how do I know which ward are so many cases of swine flu happening? And therefore, where should I concentrate my medical forces? What emergency responses should I have? The traffic, for instance, if the traffic at the end of the day has to be monitored, and I'm getting insights on where traffic is moving in at what speed, then how do I perhaps deploy more traffic police in order to make that move easier, and so on and so forth. Or if there is an accident in the city, there is a tree fallen somewhere else, what is it that's causing more of a gridlock? Do I get an insight from that to be able to deploy my forces very rapidly and very efficiently? You empower city employees with the devices and apps for them to be able to take action. Today, do you have to be sitting in an office in order to take action? Or can you get the insights that I just talked about across multiple platforms? Can you get it on a mobile phone through an app? Can you get it on a tablet through an app, so that when you're on the move as a city official, can you make the right decisions with the right amount of information coming in? or do you have to reach the office in order to do all of that? So that's transformation, in my opinion, of your operations and infrastructure, and also making sure that all the silos are broken down, and so that you have one database and information which flows across to multiple people within the government in order to be able to take effective decisions. The second pillar that we believe is Microsoft, which is enormously important, is having, let's say, transformed the operations and transformed the infrastructure. Does that make your city smart? I don't believe that it does. At the end of the day, it is about the people, it is about the citizens, it is about the businesses, it is about government departments. How do you enable those government departments? How do you enable businesses? How do you enable citizens to have either an easier life, make more rapid decisions, or be able to, let's say, innovate faster in terms of businesses? So when I look at this, certainly we need to deliver personalized services and apps anytime, anywhere. So when we are looking at a citizen, for instance, a citizen will want to engage with the government once across perhaps one portal and not many times. If I want to get my child admitted to school, if I want to get somebody admitted into a hospital, if I want to get a permit for a business, should my information exist in one single place or not? Should it be easier for me to work with the government? Same for a business as well. Should I be able to get my license much easier? Now that in itself is personalized service which you can make available either to a government, to another government department, or to a business, or to a citizen. So how do you do that really? Having made all of the infrastructure smarter, how do you make sure that the interaction with the citizens and businesses gets smarter? Through citizen-centric apps, through business-centric apps across all devices. How do you enable a real-time dialogue with the citizens? Now, effectively, should the government be a one-way government? Are you passing information to people? Or are you allowing your citizens to come in and make your smart city better? Is it a two-way dialogue? Is it a one-way dialogue? One-way, it's not a dialogue, it's a monologue actually. So therefore, are you listening to citizens? Are you listening to businesses? Are you listening to perhaps other influencers in order to be able to change the way that the city functions? Certainly, and for that, social media is perhaps the most effective mechanism. To make sense of all of the social media which floats around, that's why you need analytics, that's why you need insights from all of that. If you can draw insights, then you can certainly engage with the citizens much better. And then finally, spur city app development for economic growth. At the end of the day, can you take data which is available within the government, can you make that available to other private businesses, for instance, so that they can build applications which are either unique and something which provides value to a business, or something which provides value to a citizens. So can you perhaps strip a certain amount of personal information, but still make that data available to businesses for them to be able to provide better services to you as citizens? All of that, I believe, is citizen engagement. All of that, I believe, is business engagement. And that makes the city a little bit more smarter as opposed to just transforming operations and infrastructure. And finally, what do we need to do? At the end of the day, is to accelerate innovation and opportunity. You make the city smarter, you transform the operations, you transform the infrastructure, you engage with the citizens, you engage with the businesses, and that's great. The end goal is still that you provide that as a platform for acceleration of the economy, to grow the GDP, to be able to have a competitive advantage with, let's say, other cities in the world. So how do you do all of that? And that's innovation. That's empowering the youth in the 21st century to learn in a different way. And at the end of the day, education is changing. Education is no more about sitting in a classroom. Education is also no more about bringing technology to a student. It's not a question of, let's say a student has a laptop or a student has a tablet. That's not enough. What do? Do you then make sure that digital content in the right format is available to students? Do you give them the opportunity to collaborate? Do you give them the opportunity to have personalized learning? Do you give them the opportunity to be able to collaborate beyond their own city with people in other parts of the world? So how do you transform that education? How do you ignite the young minds of today? The education which we had when we were in school is perhaps not the best system of education today. Cities, at the end of the day, are still, in my mind, temples of education. Education is what drives innovation at the end of the day. So how do you therefore make sure that along with transforming the infrastructure, along with engaging citizens, along with engaging businesses, how do you make sure that you're empowering the youth so that new skills come in? And the second one over there is expand digital inclusion to citizens. So skill development at the end of the day. Make sure that people in the city are all accessing that information which you've got, the infrastructure that you've put together, all of the engagement that is happening with the citizens. For all of that to happen, you need to make sure that there is digital inclusion. In India today, ultimately, PC penetration is still very, very little. But what is certainly penetrating is the mobile phone. So how do you make sure that you are able to engage with people perhaps across the mobile phone? How do you make sure that all of that happens? How do you make sure that you do skill enablement? Whether that's a plumber, whether that's somebody who's providing some other kind of service. How do you make sure that you get them to be able to be part of the digital economy? How can a plumber advertise his services? How can these services from a number of people be put on a platform? Can a city, for instance, create a portal where people providing such services can provide information, and people who want to access those services can then access those services? The city of Surat is planning to do something like that, for instance. So that, in my mind, is digital inclusion. And certainly nurturing new businesses. The city also at the same time has to provide a spark to the entrepreneurs, to excite the entrepreneurs, to have them come in. How does the city make sure that on top of everything that you've done, transforming the infrastructure, engaging with the citizens, you also make sure that the city then becomes a place where entrepreneurs come in, bring businesses, bring ideas, spark the innovation in the city, and then certainly drive your GDP forward. So I think those, to my mind, looking at it from a three-lever perspective, it's transformation of the infrastructure and operations, it's citizen engagement, and at the end of the day, it's accelerating innovation and opportunity. With that, I will end my session, and I will, perhaps the next speaker will come on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you, Elliot, for giving the opportunity to IBM to talk about Smarter City. Especially I thank you for the platform that you set up for a Smarter City approach that we're going to talk through IBM. I think fundamentals, is nicely defined in terms of infrastructure, in terms of engagement, the value proposition, analytics. On the similar line, we're going to talk about today what organization like IBM can offer, and what we understand from our almost around 5 years of engagement, from 2,500 plus engagement worldwide in these smarter cities. Okay. So I guess, I'm okay with anybody taking a shot on and what's their mind a smart city, how a smart city should look like. If anybody want to like to respond, yeah, okay. Anyone? Okay. So I think fundamental change which has happened past so many years, if you notice, obviously the increase in the instrumentation. I think you see instrumentation everywhere. Okay? You see a lot of chips almost in billions around in the world. So you see a lot of instrumentation already there. You also observe a lot of interconnection. Okay? So interconnection is also happening. Those devices are talking to each other. A lot of systems are talking. What we focus today on the intelligence part of it. Okay, how do I drive the intelligence from there? It's not about just those devices. It is not just about internet. How much value you drive, how much you make best use of those resources to give cities a flavor of a smarter city. So that's where I'm going to just touch upon today's agenda. So if you see, I think every leader across the world who are aiming to serve citizen, their aim is to provide efficient services to the citizen, and that's how people are demanding today. The kind of facets of those smarter cities, if you go through this, we got planning and management, okay, which is like urban planning, infrastructure development, government and agency administration, those kind of aspects, to the basic infrastructure, which is energy, power, utilities, kind of a stuff, to the human part of it, which is the social service delivery benefits to the end customer. So these are the prime, I would say, subsystems of any city. Okay? And that's where change is happening. This is where the focus is happening. I think I heard my colleague just mentioned about the kind of influx, the kind of people who are moving into cities. So obviously there is a lot of lot of load on the resources, lot of load on the infrastructure. So how do I drive maximum out of it is what we're going to talk about. I think these are self-explanatory. In a smarter city perspective, all these fundamentals, having a great public safety, need to have a great transportation, health services, communication, all of that stuff is required. Okay, right? I think everybody agree with that. And how do I make it effective for the citizen is the end goal for us, right? Another important part, I think, in any city which are moving towards smarter city or otherwise too, is the important fact that most of these systems under city as a system are interconnected. So you have business connected with transport, transport with the energy. If you have a better transport system in city, obviously your you can say tourism would be increased, right? So if you have better healthcare in the system, similarly if you have better safety in the city. So I think all of those subsystems are interconnected normally, right? So one subsystem impact the other one to the end citizen. However, in real world, I think the correlation part, I think we observe is missing in most of these cities. That's the general view of any kind of a city which are there today. While you have, we have just taken an indicative set of departments here at the bottom. While you have cities, infrastructure, data, I think the foundations are same. All of these cities have infrastructure. Either we deploy on-premise or we move ahead in the cloud, all of that stuff. But the fundamental issue I think we observed on all of those cities is the lack of correlation. We still are talking about these departments or subsystem working individually. They're having the view of their own department primarily. Probably the lack of view at the top level also is a big concern. So that's the general scenario across cities, and that's what they probably are aspiring to be, where I have availability of information, I have a common view, I have a 360-degree information, all that stuff. So I think, interestingly, Delhi is going through elections. So I think before elections started, there are a lot of people surface on the ground to show the visibility to the people. I could see some work going on in various roads and all that. Interestingly, somebody just came and dug the road for something, and they closed it. After 1 month, somebody else came and dug the road again and did another work. So, I don't know use that word, but it sounded very naive to me. I mean, can't those things be correlated, put together? Can't those work orders be planned together? Can't those departments be interconnected? So I'm sure everybody here go through those kind of experiences. So cities which have evolved to a level, I'm sure they have gone through these issues of data being correlated, put across, and then take an effective decision on top of it. So one single message, key message I want to drive out of it is the need for any smarter city is the need for a kind of a command and control center or a consolidated view, right? That's what they are heading towards, a single city with the interconnected subsystem. And that's where IBM sharing the experiences of learning in the form of cross-collaboration solutions like Intelligent Operations Center. I'm just picking up one example here, though there are various examples where we can have, in terms of safer cities, you can have surveillance, you can have public safety, but I'm just trying to zoom today in the Intelligent Operations Center, one of the solutions through which you're getting a command center or a city view for running the smarter cities more effectively. So this, the approach of this operation center, I think I'll explain you in the next slide. If you look at it, and some of the aspect was touched by previous speaker also, the collaboration across people. Not only collaboration amongst department, but also collaboration with the citizen. So we are looking at some kind of a system which understand various departments, which understand the key performance indicators, which understand what is working in the city, what is not working. So if I have a view as a city mayor or city head, I probably would be focusing on, okay, today I think transport or traffic is an issue, I can see that's red. Okay, today I think the water distribution issues are bothering city, so let's attend that. Maybe I think public safety, there's no major issue there. So one approach is, am I seeing the city from the top level on the basic key performance indicators? So the command center gives me a view of what is happening in terms of these SLAs, what is happening, and then the important thing is, where is it happening? So do I get a geo view of that? What events are coming in my city? So today there is a dharna planned somewhere, today there is a road to be repaired, today that traffic need to be diverted, maybe there is a line to be put, there are roads to be dug, so maybe water quality would be impacted. So absolutely, the correlation is key amongst all of those subsystems. Unless we put that in place through some means, through some mechanics, through some command center, I think we'll still live in various silos. So this kind of a indicative system will give you the view what is happening, where it is happening. I have probably view of things to sensors, cameras. I think in Singapore, for example, there was a project done in terms of traffic prediction. So people, before leaving or picking a road, they can probably see on the indicator that, okay, this route will give me a hit of maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes, so I'll avoid that kind of a road. So through the analytics, all the sensors on the ground, feed from the camera, I think it drives the intelligence, okay, avoid that route because it has a potential of getting choked up in next 15 or 30 minutes. So some level of intelligence, some kind of the smartness is needed while we're talking about all that system. So that's one indicative example. And this kind of a platform, if I just give an indication. So I've just taken few simplistic views for you to understand. Like for UP, we can have a government operation center kind of a thing where you have all the indicators put in place, all the events there. Somebody with the appropriate role and access, they can attempt those events. So if I'm an operator, probably I just record it, and then somebody, a water department person can go through it, look at it, and then issue a work order. If it's a line issue, if a water distribution issue, probably open the pipe and all that. So some examples I'm just sharing through those operation center views. Okay, I just take 3-4 minutes more and more than that and be through. So few examples where these kind of intelligence system can help. Either it's a emergency situation, non-emergency system. So your command center can probably take a feed from almost everything. So you can have weather condition, you probably are much more prepared on the flash flood, fire situation. All of that information coming in the command center place. Those events are then transferred to the appropriate people. The standard operating procedures are defined. See, normally many situations, the specific action that need to be taken in certain circumstances, they're probably put into the documents which are lying, dusting somewhere. So here, by automating those processes in forms of SOPs, I think things can move fast and effectively. Similarly, for a city top executive, they want to see how things are happening. Not only in city basic indicators view, they can also have a view about some of these schemes that state is running. It could be CM schemes, it could be citizen-driven collection things like municipal taxes and all that. So everything can come together on an operation center and people can have a better view. I think another important part on the collaboration. So today, at least I know Delhi, I think municipal corporation, they were looking for some kind of a system through which citizen can report back the problem. So if I'm a citizen, if I'm carrying a laptop or a phone, if I notice some garbage is being there on the road, I can take a picture, I can send back to the command center and the appropriate action can be done. So they are looking for more engagement from the citizen to the government. So those kind of action can be initiated through mobile SOPs and stuff like that. So these are some of the examples. In fact, in India, one of the large township in West, they are building a city based on IBM Smarter City. Bangalore Water, they had a problem of water distribution across the state. They are using those kind of a tool to transfer the water. So I think because of time, I'm just stopping here. But fundamentally, it's all about how effectively you collate the information, how effectively you work on it, and how intelligently you use that intelligence to take the effective decision. In last two slides, I'll touch upon one more use case, which is the transportation. Okay. So similarly, like you have a command center, you can also have the intelligent operations center for a transportation. So you would have a view of what traffic going through, what congestion is going through. Maybe I can also have intelligence about certain peak items or peak events which have happened during certain period, like festival last 2 years. I see the load here. Maybe the bandobast need to be done there. Maybe the resources need to be deployed around. So all of those useful information, I can have it through these kind of a platform. So just an indicative view about an operation center platform. It can be applied to transport, traffic, to the water, disaster, non-disaster, Delhi, stadium, hospital, everywhere. But all of those aspects, I think, touch our life, and I believe those can help cities develop into a smarter cities. Okay, so I'm just taking a pause here. Thank you very, very much. Thank you.
Rama Raman, CEO, Noida and Greater Noida Development Authority, is there with us, and Mr. Shekhar Agarwal, Senior Vice President, Vodafone. A round of applause for our speakers, please. And with that, I request Mr. Shekhar Agarwal, Senior Vice President, Vodafone, to please address the audience.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and my distinguished panelists. It's my pride and privilege that I get an opportunity to address all of you related to smart city. I stand here as a citizen of India first, and then representative of Vodafone. Vodafone has earmarked various initiatives related to smart cities across the world. In fact, some of you would know that the urban and rural inhabitation mix is changing very fast and dramatically. A decade back, when 50% of population was urban, which is getting converted to 70% in next 2 decades. We are already feeling the pressure of ever-increasing population, scarcity of basic day-to-day necessities. Implications of such growth would result in complete breakdown on essential resources such as water, electricity, a healthy environment as a whole. Much higher traffic congestion, more pollution would adversely impact our quality of life and pose threat to general well-being. I was going through one of the recent studies which indicates that by 2020, India would need 500 more cities to accommodate the migration from rural India to urban India. We need 500 more cities for taking care of the migration. The building blocks of a future-ready city is traffic, tourism, parking, ticketing, maintenance, quality of air, digital signages, sensors, lighting, CCTV, stadiums. Simply put, a smart city is one that puts the citizen at the heart of every ecosystem, infrastructure, or socio-economic fabric. In fact, I was talking to one of very large consultant. He says that a smart city is such city where an individual decide to work, decide to retire, or even decide to die. That's the city. Various pundits have named smart city in various ways. A green field project could be a city which is getting built from scratch. A brown field could be a city like Jaipur, where we do not lose the core or flavor of that city. Or a white field, which is like a city which is evolving in evolution like Gurgaon. A green city, I understand, it's getting created, which is known as Naya Raipur. A third approach, which would suit Indian large cities, which is Whitefield, like Gurgaon, Bangalore, maybe Chennai. A smart city or a future-ready city, as we call it, would use ICT to enhance better health, education, and overall well-being by using technology which help reduce tremendous cost, resource consumption, and also improve G2C and C2G communication. The recent Digital India, which was launched, one of the key pillars was how the government can communicate with citizens. Every day we find that there are various tools and measures through government communicates with citizens, but there are hardly any communication between citizen to government. Smart solution for smart governance. The technology supports execution and leads the way for accountability. Vodafone enables government and civic agencies to plan, execute, and monitor solution for a smart city in the most efficient manner. Simply put, we can help create smart solution for smart governance, which is one of the core for a smart city. Better quality of living, better connectivity, and better governance. Vodafone enables various components of smart city, government and citizen in many fields by keeping citizen as a local focal point. We have the required experience and expertise to manage and build smart cities across the globe. Power is the biggest drainer of public money, be it generation, transmission, or distribution. We have helped various government organizations to manage the entire cycle through energy data management solutions. Battling traffic and providing better safety are also high priorities area. Just to give you an example, 40% of traffic congestion in Germany is because there is a car trying to find a parking space. Through our traffic management solution, we have eliminated that part of traffic congestion through Internet of Things, sensors, and various governance methods, which can be replicated in other cities. In India, we are trying to replicate in 9 cities. Creating smart city across the globe, we have the experience and the expertise. And we started with Istanbul, we've gone to Madrid, Barcelona, of course Italy. Qatar is one of the live cases where we have implemented smart city. Part of UK, Netherlands, Germany. Years of our global experience has helped to create a credible partner ecosystem across many countries to mobilize and replicate various smart city components. Because as a telecom service provider, you would not be able to do everything on your own. Let me highlight the work done by Vodafone in Qatar, where we collaborated with government of Qatar to crowdsource ideas from citizens to make their cities better. These ideas were then used to create citizen-centric services. Being a leading mobility and connectivity player globally and in India, we are keen to leverage our experience and expertise to co-create by bringing global best practice in India. We ensure speed, simplicity, and trust. We are the global giant and the world's first machine-to-machine communication service provider, enabling smart connectivity. Our mobile solution, we have the mobile service delivery platform, which is created in UK but now can be replicated in India, enabling various components of mobile governance. We have unique product known as M-Pesa, where you can do cash transfer. We are working with Government of Maharashtra, where scholarship will be transferred through mobile phone. There is no transaction of cash. We are one of the authenticated service provider for Aadhaar, where authentication service can be done through us by enabling unique identity system. In fact, in Delhi, we have also implemented Aadhaar-based biometric attendance system, which is currently running in various offices of Delhi. Vodafone Last Mile is to the last Indian. In fact, one of the speech of our Prime Minister Modi indicates that the governance should not be in state, should not be in center, it should be in the hand of each and every citizen. We have the solutions, we have the capability and the rural reach. We are the highly penetrated GSM service provider in the country with largest rural subscriber base, and we are ready to serve in any manner which helps create this nation. Thank you.
In Uttar Pradesh as well. And now it's a time for me to invite Mr. Khwaja Saifuddin, Director, India and South Asia at Western Digital. A big hand for Mr. Saifuddin, please.
So good afternoon, everyone. Of course, it's an honor to be able to address. More an honor because I belong to Lucknow myself. Having been born, brought up, and done my entire education, it's more of a privilege to address the state which has got me to where I am today. I would just like to give you a brief background on what we at WD do, what we can do, what are the capabilities, and how we can be a partner from the experiences which we have globally and the expertise which we have in whichever way we can help us get to a better, a smart city situation or a smarter citizen situation, which way we want to look at it. So to start with it, I am going to be making certain forward-looking statements. So WD being a publicly listed company, whatever is said in this room remains in this room and cannot be quoted outside. We at Western Digital, it's a 38 billion company based out of the US. The head office being in Irvine. We do not manufacture anything in China or anything like that. Our factory and production facilities are based out of Malaysia and Thailand. We are looking for opportunities to get closer to the markets, and that was what brings us here on the discussion point of things. Now, if you look at it as a brand we are present in your daily lives. Might be visible, might be not visible, because in everything, if you look at it, we are creating data. With all my eminent friends here on the stage, with all their expert softwares and solutions, it needs to reside somewhere where it is going to be saved, where it's going to be accessed, where it's going to be changed and resaved and done in time, and that's where we come into play. We provide the solution where all the softwares reside. So a hard drive, in a way, is a heart of a system. So if you look at it, be it your personal place or your professional place, in a corporate, in a government, 50% of the world's data is currently stored on a WD drive. So that's where we come from. Going forward, if you look at it, as somebody rightly said, a smart city is a city that has digital technology embedded in all the functions of that city. It's not just that we put up a CCTV down Hazratganj and proclaim that we have become smart because there's somebody who's talking at the back that remove your car, park this way and park this way. That's not in a true essence becoming smart. Yes, it could be the first step in that direction, but there needs to be a passage well defined that how we are going to start, what are going to be the yardsticks and the milestones, and what is the end objective for us to reach there. So broadly, how does a city, a state, or any inhabitation become smart? It needs to have a smart governance, smart energy, smart buildings, smart mobility, smart infrastructure, which is going to be planned for the future, smarter technologies, smart healthcare, and the crust of everything is a smart citizen. Until and unless me and you, the citizens, are ready to become smarter, the entire infrastructural investments or whatever we do is going to go to waste until unless we are ready to use it, we are ready to benefit from it, and we really appreciate that how it makes our life better. So building on those blocks, if we look at it, and this is just to compare UP, I'm not sure if it's clear enough, versus the GDP of the other countries, because we are discussing UP here today, then our GDP is comparable to a country like Qatar, But if we compare the population, then our population is no less than a country like Brazil. We have more people in Uttar Pradesh than we have in Brazil. Brazil holded the FIFA World Cup. Brazil is the first B in the BRIC nations. So it gives us an opportunity, a point to think about, that we have what it takes, provided we make use of it and drive it to the way it's needed to be. So the trends, if we look at it, today everyone is talking about data. All of us, I'm sure, in our pockets have an appliance which is creating data day in, day out. Whether we use it or not, all of us are creating data. Mobile phones, which just used to be feature phones, have become smarter. The pictures used to be 2 megabytes a few years ago, have now gone up to 5, 6, 8, and as the resolutions keep on going up, we are creating more and more data. But what are we doing of that data? How many of us go back and re-look on the pictures? How many of us go back to the files which we had saved? How much of that data is in a usable condition today? We do swear at things if we lose our memories, our pictures, the first picture of our child taking the first step, the marriage pictures and things like that. But what about the other data which is created? And the amount of data which is getting created is enormous. Social media itself would need 200 plus exabytes by 2020. And this is the social media engines which we have today. If we consider the other developments which might be happening, it's enormous. Thousands and thousands of hours, and to be precise, 144,000 hours of video alone is getting uploaded on YouTube. How much of data are we creating is what we can see. But there's a bigger data which is getting created, which is the Internet of Things. The sensors which we don't see, the thermostats which we don't even take into existence, and the other silent apparatuses which are talking from machine to machine basis, where no human interference is there. And if we go into the finer details, the amount of data which is getting generated, mobile phones are soon going to take over the enterprise side of the data. There's a plus and minus, there's a positive and negative in all the things. So if we look at it, when we talk about IT, then mobile phone is not an IT device. But unfortunately, for India today, we are the world leaders in smartphones. More than 50% of registrations on Facebook is from India. But more than 70% of the people on Facebook from India access Facebook from a mobile device. They don't use a computing device for that. So for us, IT in a way, slowly and steadily is becoming more of a social media device, a social media cliche that yes, I know IT because I have an account on Facebook, I'm there on Twitter, I follow so-and-so, I am there on WhatsApp, I have this memory in my phone. But is that the IT which we are going to build our future generations on? Today, yes, every government, every state is giving out laptops, but what are those laptops being used for? Is there a means to make those laptops useful for a city to become smarter? Are there applications for us to do it? So I'll come back to the topic. I thought I got deviated with that. So if you look at the data side of it, by 2020, 23% growth will happen in the amount of data which is generated. And that is between now and 2025 years from now, the data size will grow 23 times. 2.4 zettabytes, that's like 1 billion terabytes, and each terabyte is 1,000 gigabyte. So there's going to be like enormous amount of zeros put to it, the amount of data which is going to be there. If you look at the objectives and strategies, then yes, we have an objective, we have a strategy because we develop products which are catering to all the verticals. And coming back to the smarter city thing, the first step which a city takes on becoming smarter is surveillance. that you make the citizens feel safer, you make the management easier. So what we do at WD is that we create specific products for those surveillance applications, because that's a very labor intensive thing. It needs to be on 24/7. It's not like a normal PC where we normally use it only for 8 hours a day. It's a very labor intensive thing, so we have specific products for those categories. We have specific products for the enterprise and the NAS solutions. So that's how we as a manufacturer, as a provider, feel our onus and responsibility to provide a storage platform which can be used for these verticals. Now, when it comes to a hard drive, which is still the mechanic wirelessly being saved and things like that. So out of the category of things on smartness, there are 4 categories which we can focus on by using the products developed by WD, which is the smart building, smart mobility, on the infrastructure and the technology side of it. The key thing is that if you look at the growth, and here I'm presenting it from the assumption that all of us have some way or the other an influence on bettering the lives, the cities, and the infrastructures which are around us. So if you look at it from a growth perspective, and this is an international data, it's not based on the Indian studies or about India, but the perspective which I'm giving is of a global level. So if you look at it, the growth which is forecasted, it's going to be at least 12%, but the amount of new investments which are coming out from India, it's going to be enormous. Because in this, we also include the developed nations. But if you look at India, where the infrastructure is going to be laid out now, that amount of growth, if anyone is attached to the industry or as a service provider, the potential for you in that field is enormous. Because that's the way the first foundation of a smart city is going to be laid out. The growth drivers, again, if you look at it, we used to have analog cameras, where again the file size were very limited. Today we are moving towards the IP-based cameras. We are moving about towards the 4K and the higher resolution. And the innovations which are happening around the softwares which we just discussed, the solutions which are coming up, plus the cameras and stuff like that. Immediately, or do I have 2 minutes? Okay. So even if you look at it from a surveillance perspective, we have standalone surveillances which are used by individuals in a city. Then we have a city municipality based, and then we have core or command offices which take care and manage various cities put together, put in the plannings. There could be security surveillances, huge systems because of installations like stadiums, airports, where hundreds and thousands of people are passing and stuff like that. So we cater to each and every vertical with a differentiated approach. It's not a one-size-fits-all. And then the final thing, so I'll skip to this, is the cloud solution. So cloud, we have spoken about it, but again, if you look at it, cloud can be distinguished into 3 parts: public, personal, and private. We also have solutions for personal cloud, the private cloud, because personal is no longer personal, it's still out there in the air. So if you look at it on the private cloud side, your data remains within your premises, within your office, your home, but you can access it from anywhere in the world. You don't share your data, you don't have the thought at the back of your mind that what if somebody hacks into my accounts, which happened in the past, and gets my personal data, my personal pictures, my accounts, and these things. So we consider the consumers first. We take the feedback from the consumers, and that's how we develop a solution and come up with a storage, which gets us to a level that we predominate on that side. And we're happy to discuss whatever opportunities, help, or guidances you need from a storage perspective, going into these fields to make the cities around UP, India, smart or smarter in the way we are. So with that, I would thank you for the time you spent listening to me, and wish you all the best. Thank you.
Afternoon, everyone. And I think before I start my presentation, just like to say that I personally don't have a connect with UP, and I'm assuming that's not the prerequisite to present in this forum. But I'll definitely like to say that I'm proud that for last 10 years we have been associated with UP as a technology partner. So if you look at today, SWAN and SDCs from CA Technologies, we have been the technology partner to providing monitoring services over there. So that is like one of the privilege I can definitely say we carry forward from there. So I'm proud of that. I think you heard most of the presentation. I'm just going to take on an average just 10, 12 minutes as most of the speakers. And if you look at this, today most of the people talked about, this is the maturity layer of smart city today. And I will speak about the basics here, say, because ICT core of the IT infrastructure, which is being laid into most of the smart cities today, if you look at, and we are just talking about some of these layers which need to be managed and secured in the right fashion. So if you look about sensing layers, and if you want to set up a smart city where everything will depend on how sensors work, I think that becomes a very crucial part of it. How the data transfers, and everybody spoke about the amount of data it will be generated, but if the communication layer is not managed well, I think we'll not be able to do much with the data which gets generated. The smart city platform, the backbone of where the entire data get aggregated. So today, if you look at the state already have it in a small form of where the entire e-governance platform is already set in form of state data center. So can it be moving forward one of the form where the command center can be set up? And finally, the service layer, which becomes an engagement model between government and the citizen. If you look at for smart to work, and that's what you have to look at, you have to take care of where services, people, business, communication, energy, transport, and actually the list goes on. And these are the sub and small component of a smart city to function together. And if you look at this, I've just put it into to simplify saying IT is the center of smart city. So everything, if you look at transportation, waste management, utilities, traffic management, crime management, even education in smart cities. And if IT is not performing well, these services will not be able to deliver the way smart city expect these to be delivered over there. Also, which came out, one of the outcomes which you have been listening to multiple presentation, it is moving from an application environment to a app environment. And when I say app, this is how we will move forward. So today you look at any of your handheld devices, you want any services from government, you will use your handheld device, ask for those services. It will be as simple as maybe when it comes to power, through an app you will be able to demand how many kilowatts you want for your house over there, and those kind of things. You want to renew them, you want to get into a prepaid model, all this will become an app environment moving forward. And it is very important to understand that unless the application apps which are running and which are the backbone of the IT infrastructure are managed well, we will not be able to deliver those services. And irrespective of when we talk about because when we're talking about smart apps, because we are talking about smart cities over there, whether they are on web, they are on cloud, they are based on web application, we have to have a right perspective and understanding how each sub-component of app is performing and actually able to provide, distinguish where the problems are happening. And today if you look at these many users on the phone, that's where it is important to get the data to citizens and even to the executives in the way they want it, not just depending on, and as one of my panelists said, you don't have to be in office to get that data. You want that data to be available on your smart devices wherever you are available, whatever you are monitoring over there. So if you're looking at the IT health of your smart city, that data should be available at any point of time, anywhere you are available in the system. So that's what we are able to provide those technical and business APIs, especially for executive people who look at how the smart city is performing. So that is one part of it. Second is we start with setting up smart cities and we set up IT infrastructure, but there is no idea how it's going to scale up. How can we really look into rather than, because this is a misnomer when say the moment something is not performing well, just throw in more hardware over there, and that's what the same mistake we don't want to do any further. We want to make sure we understand how much of the IT capacity is required for a smaller to a bigger smart city to perform and do the right decisions at the right time, and that's where the capacity management becomes most crucial from a IT perspective to set up in IT infrastructure. And that's what we say, decision support for IT investment. Look at how much of consumption is happening and the way it's growing. Yes, you may be required to do more, required to get more hardware, but buy it at the right time, not just at the beginning where it is not even consumed at the right level. I'll just focus slightly before I move into the last part, which is security, on the device management, because if today we spoke about the devices are being the heart or the backbone of business, and the government today also, if you look at most of e-governance also with m-governance initiative is moving into smart devices for the interaction between government and citizens, and this is what is the concern right now, because if devices become the source of interaction between government and citizen, we really want to make sure what goes onto those devices, whether the services are secure, you want to roll out new application, and even within the government, when we set up smart cities, all the apps which are being performed or executed through the handheld devices, I think the government needs much more control what is happening through those devices. Obviously, I think most of you by now would have lost at least one handheld device with crucial data on it. Does that become a concern for government, or can it still be taken care of? So how do we really take care of mobilizing those services on handheld devices, secure everything, enable self-service, because that's how you want to make even your own community more smarter, not just the citizens, but I think internally the executives who take care of day-to-day operations as well. Automate management tasks, performance of handheld devices, I think that's why. So if we talk about everything to get smarter, I think from manageability perspective also we have to take care from a management devices perspective. So if you look at from a government perspective, that's what from a IT department, because when we talk about so much of IT infrastructure will come up, the biggest nightmare for IT department is going to see that everybody says the pressure which is going to set up on that IT team, which on which the dependence is so huge, because they are making sure the city runs 24/7. If something goes down from that perspective, there is a lot of blame which is going to come back on. So IT department is going to be humongous pressure from that perspective, and we have to look at right technologies to be helping them to come out of that mode. And I think everybody has been talking about Internet of Things and what happens in Internet Minute, because today for the collaboration to happen between government and citizens, this is gone, this is history, this is like basic, which is saying perimeter security, who comes into the environment, and even if you want to create a smart city like this with boundaries and high walls and create a palace out of it, but the new security reality is, because you will open it to outside world, you will open it to outside businesses, you will open it to new partners, government will open it to G2G and G2B initiatives. And if you look at this is what each one of you also are part of this environment today, and you have concerns. Even today when you load a picture on the Facebook, I'm sure you are concerned, because I am, when I say who sees the picture and can I make sure that it is protected and not goes into hand of somebody who can tamper with the data which is being provided over there. So the security impact is obviously externalization, because even when you create a smart city, you cannot just have it internal to yourself. You have to open it to outside world to connect and make it more smarter, bring in new apps which the dependence on those apps is too much. If one of those apps is actually compromised, the entire data, the entire smart city is actually at a threat at that point of time. Blurring of work, professional and personal, because today if you look at, you are allowed to log in into your apps with your own Facebook IDs, and that's how the gap between personal and professional is shrinking. And sensitive data, wherever it is residing, you want to make sure it's protected, because in a smart city today, people don't want to steal your data. They just want to bring either a bad name to an organization, or they want to just bring an entire city down by just deleting this data or tampering with those application. And even we create a great infrastructure, but if we don't have a great technology to secure our IT environment, none of this will help us actually. So if you really look at getting smart means opening up to business, but if you really look at government to citizens, we have to make sure from every identity to access to APIs, because there'll be a lot of G2G and G2B connections and a communication which will happen, SaaS-based application which will be delivered. So you want to make sure IT team want to be assured that irrespective of who comes into the environment, everything is completely secured. Just look at this. This is like, sometimes it's scary when you look at 50 billion things connected by 2020, and somewhere I think whoever creates this, one thing I'm happy that I think we had the right numbers from how much of data will be generated by 2020. So finally, just to sum it up, build, accelerate, enable and protect the new requirement which comes into smart city, and I think that's where CA Technologies as a technology solution provider for end-to-end infrastructure monitoring or providing complete security around the smart city environment which gets built up, and we are there, and I think we can take forward any discussion which are required from there. Thank you very much for your patience.
कल स्मार्ट सिटीज़ की बात हो रही है तो जहन में दो सवाल उठते हैं कि अभी इसकी बात क्यों होने लगी और इसकी स्मार्ट सिटी की एक्चुअल में डेफिनेशन क्या है। तो मैं बहुत ही क्रूड डेफिनेशन में आपको समझाऊंगा तो आपको समझ में आ जाएगा। पहली बात तो ये है कि स्मार्ट सिटीज़ की अभी बात क्यों हो रही है, क्यों इसकी आवश्यकता इस समय क्यों पड़ गई है। तो बहुत ही सिंपल मैं आपको बताना चाहूँगा, इस समय हिंदुस्तान की 30% आबादी करीब शहरों में रहती है और जो जीडीपी में शेयर है शहरी पॉपुलेशन का वो करीब 60% है। तो इससे आप अंदाज़ा लगा सकते हैं कि आउटपुट शहरों में ज़्यादा होता है, लाइवलीहुड और जो प्रोडक्शन है, जो हमारी इकोनॉमी में उसका कंट्रीब्यूशन है वो शहरों में ज़्यादा होता है। दूसरा कि दुनिया के जो देश हैं उसकी, जैसे अफ्रीकन कंट्रीज़ भी हैं तो उसमें 40 to 45% कई कंट्रीज़ हैं जिनमें अर्बन पॉपुलेशन रहती है। जो लैटिन अमेरिकन कंट्रीज़ भी हैं उसमें 60 to 70% आबादी रहती है और यूरोपियन कंट्रीज़ और यूएसए में करीब 90% आबादी शहरों में रहती है और ये एक ग्लोबल विलेज है। अब कहीं का भी इम्पैक्ट अब किसी उससे अछूता नहीं रह सकता हिंदुस्तान भी, क्योंकि जो आईटी में इतनी तरक्की हो गई, आपस में इंटरनेट से इतने जुड़ गए हैं कि कहीं से भी कोई शुरुआत होती है, कोई रिवॉल्यूशन होता है, कोई भी टेक्नोलॉजी डेवलप होती है तो कोई भी देश उससे अछूता नहीं रहता। तो हिंदुस्तान भी अर्बनाइजेशन से अछूता नहीं रह सकता। और जिस स्टेज पे है 30, जो स्टैटिस्टिक्स कहता है कि 30% जो है उसके बाद जो ग्रोथ होगी अर्बन ग्रोथ वो बड़ी तेज़ी से होगी, 60-70% तक जो ग्रोथ होगी बड़ी तेज़ी से होगी। तो ये सही समय है कि हम जो अपने शहर प्लान करें आगे वो स्मार्ट हों। ऐसा शहर ना हो कि आप घर से निकले पता ही नहीं है कि आप गाड़ी लेके जा रहे हैं तो गाड़ी कहाँ पार्क करेंगे, पार्किंग फुल होगी, कहीं सड़क पे खड़े रहना पड़ेगा, या जाम में 2 घंटे फंसे हुए हैं तो पहुंच पाएंगे, इंटरव्यू देने जा रहे हैं या जहाँ पे हमें ट्रेन पकड़नी है या फ्लाइट पकड़नी है, फ्लाइट पकड़ पाएंगे या नहीं पकड़ पाएंगे, ये चिंता मन में नहीं रहनी चाहिए। और ऐसे शहर में या सड़क के किनारे आपके घर के सामने, आपके घर के पिछवाड़े, आपके घर के इधर, आपके घर के उधर कूड़े का ढेर लगा हुआ है, या आप नहाने के लिए बाथरूम गए, पानी चला गया, आप इंतज़ार कर रहे हैं साबुन लगा करके कि अब पानी कब आएगा पता नहीं है। इसी तरह से बिजली चली गई तो फिर पता नहीं कि बिजली कब आएगी। तो इस तरह की चिंताएं शहर में नहीं होनी चाहिए। अब ये जब अर्बनाइजेशन तेज़ी से होगा तो अब हम प्लान करें तो ऐसा शहर प्लान करें जिसमें इस तरह की दुश्चिंताएं ना हों। अब और दूसरा ये कि चूँकि अब जो अभी तक हमारी जो निर्भरता थी देश की एग्रीकल्चर के ऊपर थे, तो हमारी लैंड होल्डिंग्स इतनी कम हो गई, एग्रीकल्चर इतनी अनइकोनॉमिकल हो गई कि वो जो भी, और एजुकेशन का लेवल बढ़ रहा है तो जो भी पढ़ा लिखा नौजवान है वो गांव में अब कतई डिग्री लेने के बाद, इंटरव्यू उसने कर लिया, हाई स्कूल भी कर लिया, अब गाँव में वो टिक नहीं सकता, वो शहर की तरफ ही आएगा। तो ऐसी आबादी जो पढ़ लिख कर रोज़गार की तलाश में अब शहरों की तरफ आएगी, तो ये बहुत ही अप्रोप्रिएट टाइम है कि हम उनके लिए प्लान कर सकें कि एक अच्छा शहर, एक इंटरैक्टिव शहर, एक इंटेलिजेंट और स्मार्ट शहर। अब स्मार्ट सिटी की डेफिनेशन क्या है? हर कंपनी या हर इंस्टीट्यूट या इस तरह के जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस हैं बहुत ही कठिन और क्लिष्ट डेफिनेशन देते हैं, उसको बहुत ही क्रूड, क्योंकि हम लोग एग्जीक्यूटर हैं तो क्रूड लैंग्वेज में समझते हैं, अपनी चीज़ों को सरल करके समझाते हैं। तो आप इमेजिन करिए कि आप 20 साल पहले जब अपने क्लास में पढ़ते तो स्मार्ट स्टूडेंट किसको मानते थे अपने फ्रेंड्स में? जो स्मार्ट कौन है स्मार्ट, वो उसको आप सब लोग, जो मैं समझता हूँ कि वो उस स्टूडेंट को स्मार्ट समझते जो इमेजिन कर ले कि टीचर अभी क्या सवाल पूछने वाला है उससे पहले वो जवाब दे सके। ऐसा इमेजिनेशन उसकी इतनी अच्छी हो कोई इमेजिन कर सकते। वैसे ही शहर, जो स्मार्ट शहर वो है जो आपकी दुश्चिंताओं को तुरंत उसका समाधान दे सके। कि आप घर से निकले तो आपको मालूम हो कि इस पार्किंग में अभी इतने स्लॉट्स खाली हैं, या मूवी देखने जा रहे हैं तो आपको आपके मोबाइल पे ये सूचना उपलब्ध हो सके कि इस हॉल में, इस शो में इतनी सीट्स अभी टिकट्स बाकी हैं, या इस सड़क पे अभी जाम लगा हुआ है, या बिजली की लाइन में आपको खड़ा ना होना पड़े, आप घर बैठे अपने बिजली के बिल दे सकें। तो स्मार्ट बच्चा वो है जो टीचर की जो अपेक्षाएं हैं, जो सवाल है, उसका पहले से ही उसके पास जवाब उपलब्ध हो। दूसरा उसमें गुण क्या होना चाहिए? वर्सेटाइल हो, कि सिर्फ पढ़ाई के फील्ड में ही नहीं, वो बाकी भी फील्ड में उतना ही सक्षम हो, कि खेल कूद के फील्ड में भी हो, अगर वो डांस एंड ड्रामा हो उसमें भी वो आगे हो, उसकी पर्सनैलिटी भी अच्छी हो, दिखने में भी सुंदर हो। तो ये दूसरी डेफिनेशन है कि वो वर्सेटाइल होना चाहिए। और तीसरा कि अपने सभी कलीग्स को अपने साथ तरक्की के रास्ते पे ले जाए, उसे आगे बढ़ाए। ऐसा ना हो कि वो जेलस हो कि अपना नोट छुपा के रखे कि हमारा नोट हमारा साथी पढ़ लेगा तो वो टॉप कर जाएगा। वो उन सभी अपने जो उसके मित्र हैं उन सबको अपने साथ फर्स्ट क्लास से पास कराए। ऐसा स्टूडेंट जो होता है वो स्मार्ट, हमारी इमेजिनेशन में हमारे टाइम पे जो होता था वो स्मार्ट होता। तो इसी तरह से ये सबसे क्रूड शहर के लिए भी, स्मार्ट शहर के लिए भी ये सबसे क्रूड, आप जो अपने दिमाग में इमेजिन कर सकते, सबसे क्रूड डेफिनेशन है। थोड़ा स्ट्रक्चर्ड डेफिनेशन की तरफ अगर पढ़ें तो स्मार्ट शहर को उसकी क्वालिटीज़ होनी चाहिए, उसे 3 भागों में हम बांट सकते हैं। एक तो कॉम्पिटिटिवनेस, कि उसमें बाकी शहरों के कंपैरिजन में वो उसको कॉम्पिटिटिव एज हो। जैसे अभी कहते हैं कि जैसे नोएडा को लें या गुड़गांव को लें, तो 2 चीज़ों में कहते हैं कि इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के मायने में नोएडा गुड़गांव से कई मायनों में अच्छा है, बेहतर है, लेकिन जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ ज़्यादा गुड़गांव में है। तो दोनों शहरों की अलग अलग एक कॉम्पिटिटिव एज है कि ऐसी, इसलिए स्मार्ट शहर, लेकिन दोनों शहरों को अभी कंप्लीटली स्मार्ट शहर नहीं कर सकते, क्योंकि नोएडा में भी जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ उतनी ही ज़्यादा होनी चाहिए, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर भी उतना ही ज़्यादा होनी चाहिए, तो वो स्मार्ट सिटी में कैटेगराइज हो सकता था। तो कॉम्पिटिटिव एज होना चाहिए। दूसरा कि सस्टेनेबल होना चाहिए, और तीसरा उसमें कैपिटल। तो कॉम्पिटिटिव एज में अगर हम आए तो कई कंपोनेंट्स में डिवाइड कर सकते हैं। पहला ईज़ ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस। ईज़ ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस में क्या है कि गवर्नेंस उसका कोर फैक्टर है, कि कई सारी एजेंसीज नहीं होनी चाहिए उस शहर को चलाने के लिए, कि आदमी परेशान हो कि अपने काम के लिए बिजली डिपार्टमेंट के दफ्तर जाए, कि पॉल्यूशन डिपार्टमेंट के दफ्तर जाए, या एयरपोर्ट अथॉरिटी के दफ्तर जाए। एक जगह पे उसको एक पैकेज मिलना चाहिए, सॉल्यूशन होना चाहिए। उसका जो भी चाहे मैप सैंक्शन कराना हो, किसी भी तरह का अप्रूवल लेना हो, किसी भी तरह के एनओसी लेनी हो, तो उसको एक ही जगह से मिलनी चाहिए, और ऑनलाइन उसको सर्विस मिलनी चाहिए, कि बिल जमा करने के लिए उसे 6 घंटे लाइन में खड़ा ना होना पड़े, चाहे बिजली का बिल जमा करना हो, या पानी का बिल जमा करना हो, या किसी भी तरह का बिल जमा करना हो, तो उसे ऑनलाइन सर्विस अवेलेबल होना चाहिए। और टाइम बाउंड गवर्नेंस ऐसी हो कि टाइम बाउंड उसे उसकी जो भी सुविधा मिलनी है उसे टाइम बाउंड मिलना चाहिए। दूसरा जो कॉम्पिटिटिवनेस में ज़रूरी है कि इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में सबसे पहला आता है कि मोबिलिटी में ये जो मोबिलिटी है कि एक तो पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट सिस्टम होना चाहिए उस शहर के पास, कि आदमी अपने गाड़ी से उसको चलने की ज़रूरत ना पड़े। ऐसी सड़कें होनी चाहिए, घर से जब निकले तो उसके 500 मीटर के डिस्टेंस पे उसे पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट की कोई सुविधा होनी चाहिए, चाहे एफिशिएंट सिटी बस सर्विस हो, या मेट्रो सिस्टम हो या मोनोरेल सिस्टम हो, और घर से जब निकले तो पैदल चलने वाले के लिए या साइकिल से चलने वाले के लिए लेन होनी चाहिए, जिससे कि वो पैदल चल के अपने जो नेक्स्ट स्टॉप है, चाहे बस का स्टॉप है या सिटी बस वो मेट्रो का स्टॉप है, वहाँ तक पहुँच सके। तो शहर में पैदल चलने वालों के लिए, साइकिल से चलने वालों के लिए भी प्रॉपर लेन्स होनी चाहिए, और उसे पैदल चलने वालों को हमें तवज्जो और तरजीह देनी चाहिए। और इसके अलावा जो भी हमारा मोबिलिटी में हो कि सड़कें ऐसी हो कि कहीं जाम न लगे, फ्लाईओवर्स, अंडरपासेस होने चाहिए, और आदमी अगर प्लान करे कि हम 25 मिनट में वहाँ पहुँचना चाहते हैं तो 25 के बजाय 24 मिनट में वो पहुँच सके, ऐसी सड़कें, ऐसी व्यवस्था होनी चाहिए। और अगर कहीं दुर्भाग्य से कोई दुर्घटना हो जाती है, कोई सड़क जाम हो जाती है, किसी वजह से सड़क बंद है, तो उसे मोबाइल पे ये सूचना मिल जानी चाहिए कि आज ये सड़क इतने बजे से इतने बजे तक बंद रहेगी, इस सड़क से कृपया ना जाएं, इसका ऑल्टरनेटिव ये है, इस सड़क से जाएं। तो ये मोबिलिटी के उसमें इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के लिए बहुत ज़रूरी है। दूसरा कि 24 घंटे बिजली की सप्लाई होनी चाहिए और क्वालिटी सप्लाई होनी चाहिए। ऐसा नहीं कि फ्रीक्वेंसी अप डाउन कर रही है, ऊपर नीचे हो रही है, तो उसका इलेक्ट्रॉनिक का जो सामान है वो उड़ गया और वोल्टेज ज़्यादा हो गया, वोल्टेज कम हो गया। तो 24 घंटे सप्लाई प्लस क्वालिटी बिजली की सप्लाई होनी चाहिए। इसी तरह से वाटर सप्लाई भी 24 घंटे उसको कोई चिंता न रहे कि हमें ड्रम में पानी स्टोर करना है कि आज पता नहीं कब पानी चला जाएगा, इसकी चिंता नहीं रहनी चाहिए। 24 घंटे पानी की सप्लाई होनी चाहिए। इसी तरह से जो सैनिटेशन है प्लस स्टॉर्म वाटर ड्रेनेज होना चाहिए, और सीवर 100% सीवर सिस्टम होना चाहिए उसमें। और जो कूड़ा कचरा निकलता है वो ऐसा ना हो कि उसे इसका डिस्पोजल का प्रॉपर इंतज़ाम होना चाहिए, साइंटिफिक कि मैकेनिकल स्वीपिंग की व्यवस्था हो, जो मशीनें हैं उससे कूड़े के लिए घर से कूड़ा कलेक्ट करके सेग्रीगेशन सेंटर पे चला जाए सीधे, और सड़क पे कहीं या इधर उधर कूड़ा फेंका हुआ दिखना नहीं चाहिए। प्रॉपर डस्टबिन्स होने चाहिए, टॉयलेट्स होने चाहिए शहर में, और वहाँ से सेग्रीगेशन सेंटर से ऐसी जगह पे कूड़ा ले जाए जहाँ पे वेस्ट के डिस्पोजल के जो आज मॉडर्न साइंटिफिक तरीके हैं, चाहे मैन्योर बनाए या उससे एनर्जी बनाए, और इस सब के बाद जो कूड़ा बचे डिस्पोजल के लिए फाइनल, उसका सड़क में यूज़ हो सके या यूजेबल होना चाहिए, इन्वायरमेंट फ्रेंडली होना चाहिए शहर का जो भी कूड़ा डिस्पोजल का सिस्टम है। इसके बाद सबसे ज़रूरी जो बैकबोन है स्मार्ट सिटी का, वो आईटी फैसिलिटी है। तो ऐसा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर होना चाहिए कि बहुत ही फास्ट कम्युनिकेशन हो सके। ऐसा ना हो कि एक पिक्चर डाउनलोड करने में 2 घंटा लग जाए, बैठे हुए हैं अपने लैपटॉप के सामने। इतना फास्ट हो, इतना बैंडविड्थ अवेलेबल हो कि हमें इंतज़ार ना करना पड़े कि डाटा के आने के लिए, कि वेट कर रहे हैं कि वहाँ से भेज दिया अमेरिका से, अब यहाँ पे आधे घंटे बाद 45 मिनट बाद आ पाएगा। ऐसा होना चाहिए। इतना रिमोट कॉर्नर में नहीं होना चाहिए कि वहाँ पे इतनी फैसिलिटी नहीं है कि हम इंटरनेट या इसकी सुविधाएं नहीं दे सकते हैं। तो ये इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के मायने में ये कुछ ऐसे कॉम्पिटिटिव एडवांटेज हैं जो उस शहर के पास होने चाहिए। और लाइवलीहुड, सबसे ज़रूरत ये है कि जो भी जिस तरह के कैपेसिटी वाला मैन पावर आए उसे वहाँ पे उसे रोज़गार मिल सके। इसके लिए लाइवलीहुड उस शहर में होनी चाहिए, तभी वो शहर सस्टेन कर पाएगा। और इसके लिए जो अगला वो है कि सस्टेनेबल होना चाहिए, सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट होना चाहिए। वो सबसे इम्पॉर्टेंट पार्ट इस शहर का जो क्राइटेरिया है वही है कि सस्टेनेबल तभी होगा जब उस शहर में रोज़गार के साधन मिलते नहीं तो वो शहर मर जाएगा। जिस शहर से रोज़गार अवेलेबल नहीं, जैसे कानपुर को कहते थे कि इधर का नॉर्थ का मैनचेस्टर है, वहाँ पे रोज़गार के जब वो चला गया तो वो एक तरह से शहर की जो वाइब्रेंसी है वो ख़त्म हो गई। लोगों को अट्रैक्टिवनेस उस शहर के प्रति ख़त्म हो जाती है अगर रोज़गार नहीं मिलता है। तो वो बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट फैक्टर है किसी भी शहर के लिए, कॉम्पिटिटिव एज के लिए। सस्टेनेबल में ये है कि जो भी सुविधाएं हैं उसको वो जो भी शहर को एजेंसी कंट्रोल कर रही है या गवर्न कर रही है, उस सर्विस से उसको इतना रेवेन्यू जनरेट हो, सेल्फ जनरेटिंग हो कि वो लॉस में ना जाए। नहीं तो फिर वो आप उसको निरंतर उस शहर को उस सुविधा को मेंटेन नहीं कर पाएंगे। कहीं से बाहर से हमें किसी फंड के बजट की आवश्यकता उस शहर को नहीं रहनी चाहिए। सेल्फ सस्टेनेबल, सेल्फ फाइनेंसिंग सारी जो सुविधाएं होनी चाहिए। सुविधाओं में ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा ई गवर्नेंस का जितना उपयोग हो सके कि आप खाना भी मंगवाना हो तो खाना मंगवा सकें, स्कूल में एडमिशन हो तो एडमिशन ले सकें। तो ई गवर्नेंस की जितनी भी ऑनलाइन फैसिलिटीज़ होंगी वो शहर उतना स्मार्ट, उतना फास्ट होगा। और सस्टेनेबिलिटी के लिए ज़रूरी है कि जो सोशल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है वो बहुत ज़रूरी है कि कहीं भी आदमी रहने जाता है तो उसके जाने के लिए इंटरटेनमेंट जॉइंट्स होने चाहिए, खाने के लिए अच्छे रेस्टोरेंट्स होने चाहिए, बच्चों की पढ़ाई के लिए अच्छे स्कूल्स होने चाहिए, अपने हेल्थ केयर के लिए बढ़िया हेल्थ केयर सर्विस है, बढ़िया हॉस्पिटल्स होने चाहिए। तो सोशल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर भी उतना ही ज़रूरी है एक स्मार्ट शहर की परिकल्पना के लिए। और सबसे आखिर में ज़रूरी है कि जो कैपिटल चाहिए होता है एक शहर के लिए, उस शहर में इतनी लैंड हो कि उससे वो रेवेन्यू जनरेट कर सके अपने इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को क्रिएट करने के लिए। और जो ह्यूमन कैपिटल है वो भी बहुत ज़रूरी है कि पढ़ा लिखा उनको स्किल डेवलपमेंट के लिए ऐसी फैसिलिटी होगी। कोई अगर हाई स्कूल करके भी आ रहा है या 8th क्लास तो उसमें स्किल डेवलपमेंट करके उसकी एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी बढ़ाने के लिए वहाँ पे स्कोप होना चाहिए कि हर किसी को उसके स्किल के अनुसार से वहाँ रोज़गार मिल सके। तो कैपिटल जो ह्यूमन कैपिटल है उसमें भी इन्वेस्टमेंट के अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ रहने चाहिए उसमें। ये नटशेल में एक स्मार्ट शहर की परिकल्पना है जो कि हमें सब लोग मिलकर अपने अपनी कैपेसिटी में डेवलप करना है। और बहुत ही क्रूड शब्दों में मैंने आपके सामने रखा है। मैं समझता हूँ कि आपके जहन में आप इसको और डेवलप कर पाएंगे अपने अपने हिसाब से, लेकिन ये ऐसी क्रूड उसमें हमने आपके समक्ष ये बात रखी है कि हमेशा याद रहेगी और आप मनन करेंगे इसके ऊपर तो उसको और डेवलप कर सकेंगे। इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ मैं अपनी बात समाप्त करता हूँ। जय हिंद।
Session, I will request Sir Jivesh Nandan ji to please present mementos, a token of thanks to all our speakers. This is Ittar of Uttar Pradesh. So I'll request sir to please. To start with, Mr. Shekhar Agarwal, Senior Vice President, Vodafone. Round of applause for Mr. Agarwal from Vodafone. Mr. Neeraj Gill, Sir Ramaraman, CEO, Noida and Greater Noida Development Authority. Then Mr. Neeraj Gill, Group Director, Microsoft. And Mr. Khwaja Saifuddin from Western Digital. Mr. Prashant Chaudhary from CA Technologies. And Mr. Naval Khosla, Technology Leader, Industry Solutions, Smart Cities, IBM. Sir, I will request for a group photo with our eminent speakers. I think you can come forward. Sir Partha